Hey everyone, welcome back, Focus Learners. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for another explainer. Today we're diving into this, well, it's a completely universal sensory experience that almost all of us recognize, but honestly, pretty much no one actually understands. Picture this, all right? It's been a long, sweltering, dry spell. You finally step outside, the sky gets all dark and moody, those first heavy drops of water smack the pavement, and bam! Instantly, that incredible, rich, earthy fragrance just fills the air. You take a huge breath in, and it's literally the smell of pure relief. But hold on a second. What exactly are you inhaling? Well, today, we're totally unpacking the hidden, secret science behind the smell of rain. I mean, really think about it. Why on earth does a muddy, wet street somehow smell comforting? How are we smelling something that doesn't actually exist in the water itself? Because, if you pour a glass of purified water right now, it has zero scent, nothing. Rain is literally just water falling from the clouds, so by all logic, it shouldn't smell like anything either. Yet, it creates one of the absolute most beloved fragrances on the planet. And the answer to this massive mystery? Well, it means we have to stop looking up at the clouds and start looking way down at the dirt. So let's get into Section 1, the mystery of Petrichor, nature's scratch and sniff. Okay, let's dive right into this. To really grasp what's going on here, you've kind of got to stop thinking about the rain as the source of the smell. Instead, imagine the earth as this giant natural scratch and sniff sticker. The rain isn't dropping the scent from the sky. The rain is actually the thing activating the scent that's already hiding down there on the ground. And scientists, of course, have a very official name for this whole phenomenon: petrichor. It's that distinct, comforting scent produced when rain hits dry soil. Now, I know, petrichor totally sounds like the name of some ancient, fire-breathing dragon from a fantasy novel, right? But the real origin of the smell is arguably way stranger than fiction. To find out what petrichor is actually made of, we have to zoom way, way in. Which brings us to Section 2, Ingredients of the Earth, Brewing the Fragrance. So this whole story actually starts with a struggle. Imagine for a second you're a plant trying to survive a long, brutal, dry season. The sun is just beating down, water is vanishing from the soil, and everything around you is desperately fighting to stay alive. And because you're super stressed out, you do this remarkably clever thing. You secrete specific oils into the dirt and onto the rocks around you. Think of these plant oils as nature's chemical time capsules. They don't do a whole lot at first. They just sit there, baking in the summer heat for weeks, sometimes months, quietly piling up. They are literally just waiting for the rain to show up. But here's where the story takes a really fascinating twist. Because you might think those plant oils are the main event, but actually, scratch that. They aren't the true star of the show. The heavy lifting for that iconic earthy rain smell is actually done by a molecule called geosmin. Geosmin is pumped out by actinobacteria. These are tiny, microscopic, soil-dwelling bacteria just hanging out quietly beneath our feet. So while we're all up top complaining about the brutal summer heat, these little bacteria are underground, basically spending the entire dry season brewing Earth's strangest perfume. And when the rain finally hits, that geosmin escapes right into the air. Now, what's really interesting about this is the totally absurd microscale of our sensitivity to this stuff. The second geosmin hits the air, your brain is like, oh, I know that. Scientists have found that humans are ridiculously sensitive to geosmin. Like, we can detect it at concentrations as low as a few parts per trillion. To put that into perspective, that is the equivalent of tasting a single drop of syrup diluted across dozens of Olympic swimming pools. Seriously, no joke. Researchers have literally compared our nasal sensitivity for geosmin to the way a great white shark detects a single drop of blood in the middle of the ocean. It's wild. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point in Section 3, Firing Microscopic Dirt Rockets, the Physics of the Scent. Okay, so we've got the chemical ingredients, right? The plant oils and the geosmin. But how exactly do they travel from the dirt into our noses? Well, it's this incredibly dynamic physical process. Step 1, a raindrop plummets from the sky and just smacks into the porous, dry ground. Step 2, the second it hits, these teeny tiny air bubbles form inside that little droplet and shoot rapidly to the surface. Step 3, those bubbles burst almost instantly. And finally, step 4, as they pop, they launch microscopic particles from the soil directly into the air around them. That includes the geosmin, the plant oils, the whole shebang. They act exactly like tiny exploding dirt rockets, firing invisible perfumes straight into the sky. And actually, this is exactly why you can often smell a huge storm coming before it even starts raining. The wind is literally sweeping these microscopic dirt rockets ahead of the storm front.
Moving on to section 4, the survival scent, unlocking forgotten memories.
So we know the physics of how it gets to us, but let's pause for a second. Why on earth does a muddy dirt rocket smell bring humans so much actual joy and comfort? Well, in our modern everyday world, rain is usually just, an inconvenience. It ruins a picnic or messes up your commute. But for the vast majority of human history, rain was life itself. Rain meant your drinking water was finally replenished. It meant the dry rivers filled back up. It meant the crops were going to grow and food was going to be abundant. So the humans who paid really close attention to the signs of approaching rain, especially its scent, well, they had a massive evolutionary advantage. Over thousands and thousands of generations, our ancestors' brains literally hardwired themselves to associate the smell of petrichor with safety, abundance, and ultimate survival.
And because of how our biology works, that wiring is unbelievably deep. You see, unlike your sight or your hearing, your sense of smell has this direct, express lane route right into the parts of your brain that handle emotions and memories. Smells don't bother knocking. They don't ask for permission before bringing up old memories. They just kick the door down. That's exactly why petrichor instantly transports you. Maybe it reminds you of carefree summer vacations, or the smell of wet grass at high school football practice, or just the pure, unadulterated relief of that first rainfall after weeks of unbearable heat. Your brain quietly takes all those warm, positive memories and bundles them together, linking this super ancient survival scent directly to your modern sense of comfort. So the crucial point here is that petrichor isn't just one single monolithic smell. It's actually a lot more like a rain playlist, and every different environment adds its own unique tracks to the mix. For example, if it rains after a long, brutal drought, the smell is incredibly punchy and strong because the geosmin and oils have been stockpiling for months. But if you're in the middle of a big city, the rain might smell kind of metallic or sharp as it mixes with the concrete and pollution. Take a walk in a forest, and it smells much richer, heavily mixed with deep tree and plant aromas. And if you're caught in a massive thunderstorm, you might even catch the crisp, sort of electric scent of ozone created by the lightning strikes. Basically, the earth is constantly remixing the scent of rain depending on exactly where you are. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, an ancient signal, older than humanity. Now let's zoom all the way out. Because, look, as much as we humans love to make absolutely everything about us, we are definitely not the only creatures obsessed with geosmin. Just take a look at the wider animal kingdom. Camels, for instance, are incredibly sensitive to it. They use this exact scent to track down distant oases and hidden water sources in the desert right after a rainfall. And various insects are super attuned to it as well. Some are strongly attracted to it, while others are actively repelled. So this strange little molecule has actually been dictating animal behavior for millions and millions of years, way, way before the first human ever even walked the earth. So the next time you stop to take a really deep breath right after a rainstorm, realize that you aren't just smelling wet dirt. You're actually receiving a message from the earth, one that has remained completely unchanged for millions of years. It's this massive chemical broadcast that predates all of human civilization. It predates agriculture. It completely predates us. It is quite literally the earth proudly announcing to everyone listening, water is here, life is returning. Which leaves us with this final, honestly amazing thought to ponder. Plants release their hidden oils, microscopic soil bacteria send their little chemical brews up into the sky, and millions of tiny bubbles explode right beneath your feet. And somehow, your modern brain still perfectly understands this ancient language of survival. So I'll leave you with this question. If your brain effortlessly translates this millions of years old message from the dirt, what other ancient languages of nature are you secretly fluent in, just waiting for the right moment to be awakened? Definitely something to think about the next time the sky turns gray. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I will see you guys next time.